All right, for more on this, let's bring in Right On Crime Executive Director and former U.S. Attorney Brett Tolman. Brett, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. What do you make of this? What do you make of this release of the documents on Epstein? What do we learn?
You know, I mean, I'm not one that believes easily a conspiracy theory. You know, it doesn't really answer the questions about why there weren't better precautions in place for someone that they knew 4 days after getting to the facility attempted to commit suicide. There appears to be so much dysfunction in this facility and among, you know, in the area that he was at, that to me it's astounding that they didn't change their protocol, they didn't adjust any of their systems and controls, that they knew he was not only just a high-profile sexual predator and trafficker, but that he was wanting to escape, you know, through suicide and you know, justice, and that's something that if you care about the victims at all, you care about keeping someone like that alive to go through the trial, so that there may be some semblance of justice for those that were victimized by him.
Is this just commonplace in the way that the Justice Department is run, and particularly the Bureau of Prisons? Brett, that's the most frustrating thing, is that we will really never have the answers about how he died.
Yeah, and what's really maddening for me was the Bureau of Prisons started consuming so much of the budget of DOJ. And the inefficiency was so large that when I was U.S. Attorney, there were task forces I could not join because we didn't have the resources we needed. So it's really affecting the dysfunction and the, you know, the size of the Bureau of Prisons is affecting the ability to actually go after predators, to go after dangerous people that we want to take off the streets. So when that starts happening, you got to step back and ask yourself, what are we doing wrong?
You know, I think one of the issues that a lot of Americans have is, again, you may not be prone to conspiracies, but when we don't have video cameras that work during his death, or we don't know who the other inmates were in the cells that were adjacent to him, there's questions that, if answered, could lead to common sense answers, but when not answered, lead to conspiracies.
Yeah, and we're starting to realize that many conspiracies are ending up true. So now people that never wanted to buy into conspiracies are saying, wait, I didn't think I believed in them. But, you know, the other problem that is really aggravating is, why were they not leveraging some of the things he wanted to find out who more of the victims were and who other perpetrators were? Why weren't the prosecutors and, you know, the investigators, they knew he was unhappy while he was incarcerated. That's a great moment to try to secure additional information from him.
Because maybe they didn't want those answers, Brett.
Right.
Brett Tolman.
That's the problem.
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.